Hello, internet. What's up? Yeah, hi. So tonight we're going to be going over our one shot that we played last Saturday. Yeah, it was last Saturday. This week has been weird, y'all. So it's kind of like what is happening a little bit. We'll start with some quick announcements. This Saturday we will be playing spooky games again. I think we're going to be doing spooky board games.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to be playing spooky board games, so it should be fun. Susie's going to be leading that one, so it should be a good time. And then Sunday, we have our usual River of Terrycell at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's it. We have a kind of light week this week, so not too shabby. So this month we've been playing spooky games, and we've been having a lot of fun with them. But I'm probably super biased because I ran it, but this last Saturday's game was probably my favorite that we've done so far. We played the Tremor Train by R&W. Woo! Which is super fun because it's basically a fair carnival worker has gone missing in their spooky train ride. So it's sort of like you're going through the haunted mansion trying to find someone who went missing there. But the person who is now running it is a total D-bag and sucks. So there's all sorts of things that have gone wrong and chaos inside the caves. So I'll try to not do too many spoilers, but I probably will go over quite a few spoilers because we're going to talk stats and how the players eventually conquered the spiders and all of that fun stuff. So spoilers beware. So the game starts out pretty simply enough. Your characters are all part of a guild. You are called to quietly and discreetly help this carnival man actually find his missing worker without anybody knowing that he's missing. So your characters go off. And what I really liked is actually at the beginning of the game, one of the things that R&W's put in is something where your characters can actually roll for knowledge of what they know about the area, about this ride in particular. So that was really helpful because rather than me having to figure out, okay, they rolled a 10 intelligence check, what does that mean? How much do they know? What do they know or not know? And it was a really cool way for the characters to sort of figure out amongst themselves what was going on, because in our scenario, several people rolled different numbers. So some of them were like, oh yeah, I heard it was great, and others were like, no, I heard it was awful. So it was interesting to have that that dynamic between the players, and it already got them talking about what to expect and what it was going to be like. So I really liked that. It made my life a little bit easier because that's one of the things that I think is really hard with some one-shots is when characters roll those sorts of insight or knowledge checks and you have to kind of gauge what do they know based on just this sort of closed universe. So it's a little bit more challenging for me at least, so that was super helpful. And then the way that the outline is set up, first off, it's adorable. Like, everything about it is really just very well laid out. It's real cute. I really, I kept it because I think it's all just, super cute. I love the font. I love the colors. But, that's pretty much all of R&W stuff. If you buy or have followed any of her stuff, it's all just, super cute, amazing. If you notice, I might be a fan of her work. I might have bought a bunch of the DM stuff forever ago, which I also love, and maybe we'll talk about on a future episode. But so it was really fun, and it very clearly in the handout for it, which isn't all that long. I think it's about 15 to 20 pages, depending on if you print out the maps. And it really is very well laid out. It pretty much goes room by room by room of where stuff is, what can happen in those rooms, what it all looks like, all of that stuff. And it gives you a lot of little details for them, which is it's really fun. It makes it significantly easier for the players to follow what's going on, because a lot of times especially with one-shots, it can be really easy to sort of lose what's going on based on some of the players and what's happening there. But yeah, and so one of the first characters that you meet in the game, NPC-wise, is Broben. And, I mean, the handout's pretty great in, like, just making it very clear from the get-go that he is a jerkwad. And my players pretty much immediately, from the get-go, knew he was a jerkwad and didn't much care for him. So that was really fun, because it's really great to sort of get to play a skis ball type of character. And I love that, I really, really, really love what RW did with the sheets that she provided for each character. And so, like, Broben Hutch, he's got his own stats, he's got his own information, it's got his alignment, it's got, like, a little bit about him, and they have that for each of the characters. That is sort of an NPC. So Saul, who is the missing character, he's got a sheet, which is why, well, on his sheet he had a crossbow. I gave him a broom instead, but, you know, needs must, I suppose. Mainly because I thought a broom would be slightly funnier.
It was way more hilarious with a broom, to be honest.
Well, my thought was, he's been down there for a while. He's probably out of bolts for his crossbow by this point. So he probably has just grabbed whatever he could get his little hands on and is whacking stuff. That was my thought and my decision. And also, I wasn't sure how much help he was going to be in the final fight. So yeah, I adjusted some of the stuff, not a lot, just little things like that. So Saul had a broom instead of a crossbow. So yeah, just sort of things to give it a slight different flavor without changing everything drastically. At the end of the day, I wanted my players to be the ones that sort of felt like a hero, and I didn't want the NPC to sort of accidentally score the killing blow. Because that can kind of be a little demoralizing sometimes for players if they're like, yeah, we're gonna beat this thing, and then the NPC's like, and I do 13 damage and it's dead! And so I kind of wanted to just remove that from a possibility, and also make it more challenging for them. Because, you know, like, I want my players to feel like, yeah, we're awesome, we did good, and they did so good, you guys, I'm so proud of them! So, one of the things that the game actually has a lot of is various traps, and some of them are really fun, and some of them are, like, really, really deadly. So the one that was really fun was the cackling room, where our wizard Greg was inflicted with horrible cackling that Wizard Greg's player refused to participate in, but it was great.
Wizard Greg's player was also not having a great day.
So, so that meant that every time anything cackled in the game, which is a lot, that character then was stuck cackling too. Which is just, like, hysterical to think about the rest of the time going through and just continuously, God, no! Like, that's just hysterical, and I love it oh so very, 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 very much. The one trap that is sort of deadly, or very, very close to deadly. So we ran this with the pre-generated characters provided, who are all level 2. And there's one trap in particular that has a DC 14 strength saving throw save. Otherwise, they fall and take 3d10 bludgeoning damage. For most of the characters, that's got a potential to be deadly. Like, real deadly, real splat.
Real splat, real hard?
Real splat, real hard. So, that one, unfortunately, my players actually bypassed that completely. They were out of the cart before that happened, so it worked out. And part of that was I ran the cart slightly differently, and there was like one section that I misread something, and so I sort of had to improvise and then making sure that that room connected to where they needed to go, because I was misreading something. My bad. But it worked out fine, but that was the one trap that sort of made me go, oh my god, they're dead. Which, like, I mean, could have been kind of funny at the same time. The cart flips over and you plummet to your death. Ah, ah, ah! All the way down. So, because that would have been super hysterical and really funny. But yeah, so the character sheets are they're pretty good. If you play D&D a lot, they're going to look kind of different and maybe be a little bit confusing at first. I know a couple of our players, they play a lot, and when they looked at the sheets, they were like, what is happening? Where is my stuff? So here's an example of what our Ranger Chase's sheet looked like. And it has everything on it. It even has a secondary page for any spellcasters that does include what spells they have and just some basic information. I know one of the things that we noticed is that the Hunter's Mark in particular didn't specify one way or the other if it was a bonus action the first time you cast it, so we had to go look that up. But otherwise, it's pretty much like you don't have to have the books to continue to play, and you don't have to spend a lot of time trying to figure out what a spell does, what can you cast, and what can't you cast. And it was really great because we had a player who has played one other session of D&D, and this sheet was really great for her because it's really easy to lay out. It's got the main stuff you look at up in center. So it was really helpful, and it was just it's really cute and really well laid out. I am all about aesthetics in a lot of ways, and so I was really pleased with it and how it worked out. The characters seemed to be fairly well put together. Some of them, I think there was one person we may have adjusted a spell for. I don't remember. Oh, the Tiefling Bard didn't have Hellish Rebuke as a reaction. And I now also see that the Bard actually has Featherfall, so presumably if you have the Bard in your party and you do hit that trap where you fall, you can cast Featherfall and mitigate that. So, clever. Well done. I didn't notice that until now because I didn't spend a lot of time looking over the Bard's character sheet because the person playing the Bard plays a lot of D&D, so he was good.
He was fine.
Yep. That's all fine. It's fine. And what's really cool as well is the PDF actually comes with little cutouts you can use for the game. And we were going to, but the problem is the cutouts are really, really cute, but they're really, really, really small. So this little guy represents a player character. I gotta get like really close to the camera for you to even see it. So that's what the characters' tokens looked like. And then it's really cute, but it's really small, y'all. So this is what the train car with 2 passengers looks like. And so it's really cute. But you can imagine for us, since we were streaming it, I mean, like this on a board is just, it's invisible. Like there's no way anybody could see it. As well as, since we don't sit at like a dining room table, it would be really hard for people to be able to see where their characters are and what's going on. I like the size of the giant spider, hashtag spoiler alert, because that one's a little bit of a better size for you to be able to see. But again, when you start looking at things from a distance, they get really hard to be able to pick up the details for. I think for people playing around the table, it's probably fine. And they're really a nice stand-in if you don't have minis of your own. It's really nice to be able to have something that you can put in for the game, and I think they probably work really well if you're not trying to stream or if you don't have people sitting from a bit further back, because that was my only thing, is it just, they're very small, and so I can just imagine if we had had these on a table, it would have been very difficult for people to figure out where they were, where they needed to move, that sort of thing. So we elected to use just the miniatures that we already have, which I think most of those are from WizKids. And then the random spider that was from Michael's clearance section.
The random spider made of bones. Spiders don't have bones!
It was not made of bones, it was just white.
Well, a white spider made of bones.
I mean, you can make it made of bones if you would like to, my darling.
It just has a white chip in a shell.
Yep.
Nope.
So yeah, the final fight with the giant cave spider is pretty intense. Its AC is 18 and it has 79 hit points. And so it was really intense. I could see the players were like, oh, I got a 14. And I'm like, you're just grazing off of the top of its thorax. And they were like, I'm sorry, I'm what? So there were some heckin' big concerns about that. And it also has some pretty gnarly attacks. Though one of them I did realize that I was looking at it wrong, and there was actually a save to avoid being poisoned and paralyzed. But that would be maybe one of the other things, is that for me so here's the stats for the giant cave spider. So if you see a little bit further down, I was just looking at this right here where it says bite. I did not realize that the secondary box right here was actually the save for the venom. Stop sniffing the mic, weirdo. So I was just automatically applying it, which thankfully didn't cause too much irreparable harm.
Since the person who got hit by it was like, I'm immune to poison.
Yeah, well, and mostly I actually ended up using the final ability, which is just a web shot. It restrains them, because I didn't want to flat out murder everybody horribly. So mainly when I had the spider attacking, it was using the web shot and restraining people. And so, yeah. But it was a really tough fight. And it was really fun because we had a lot of people in chat offering all sorts of crazy suggestions. And so Wizard Gary set some stuff on fire. And so I just, with chat's encouragement, I made the executive decision that the spider was going to get disadvantage and the players were going to get advantage because it was scared and freaked out and everything was on fire. And so that helped with the battle because it gave them a better shot at actually being able to hit it. Usually in a lot of the combats that I run, I don't necessarily, it has a set AC, but its HP is often flexible based on narrative moments and who I feel like needs the boost of killing something. Sorry, y'all, you're getting my secrets now. So...
Now I know how to make you an even more marshmallow GM!
I know. I am a super marshmallow GM. I have a really hard time being super duper duper I'm gonna kill my players. So that's what I normally do, but this time I did not. I absolutely did not adjust that HP. It stayed at 79. Because I very, very, very much wanted to drop it down and make it a little bit easier for them. But everybody was so enjoying the challenge that it was really fun. I had an absolute blast. And then it's really great when the players rescue Saul and they get out of the caves. And then, so my players decided that Brobin, the owner of this ride, needed to pay for his sins. And they decided that they were gonna let him take a ride on his own Tremor Train, which was a really awesome poetic ending to the game because Broven is such a little shit. That it was really nice, and then I had it that Saul was gonna take over the ride after this, so. Then the players can come back later and ride it and yada, yada, yada. But yeah, overall, I, 1,000% recommend this. It was super fun. And it runs really quick. It runs really easily. I think I had read the adventure start to finish maybe 2.5 times before we actually ran it. And so it was really easy to pick up. The way that the individual rooms that you're in are laid out is really well done. R&W just tweeted us. Hi. She's coming. They can't see you, but I appreciate your wave. But yeah, the way that everything is laid out is really helpful as well for the individual rooms. So the one room, there's the giant fake plush spider that beat the shit out of Chase. Yeah, the traps do not mess around in this game. They hurt. But yeah, so when you get into that room, at the top, it gives you a little description of what the room looks like, and then it has the different saves you can make, a sort of general layout of what the room looks like, and then a little bit more information for the DM that you can bring in, or you can, extrapolate on later. So it's really fun, and the way that it's laid out makes it very easy to pick up and run, which is like my favorite. A lot of times if I'm picking up a one-shot, I don't want it to be something that I'm going to have to spend like 3 hours prepping. I want it to be something that I can run fairly easily, and that also is going to be fun for everybody. And it seemed like my players had a good time.
Yes, we did.
Okay.
It was great.
Two of the players are in the room, and they are both saying yes, they did have a good time. So that's good to hear. But yeah, like if you are looking for a kind of a silly, spooky game to play for Halloween, like you just need to go ahead and download this because it ticks every single one of those boxes. It's ridiculous and funny and cute and lets you sort of get petty revenge on irritating evil businessmen who are like ruining a perfectly good haunted train ride, and how dare they. So yeah, it was super fun, and so I'll just end with one of my favorites that I didn't actually get to use in the stream because there wasn't a reason to have a map of the whole ride. But so the map of the ride is just like, it's adorable. Like, it's so cute.
Oh my god.
Yeah, like, it's so cute.
Oh my god.
And there are a ton of, so each individual room actually gets its own little card as well. And so they're really cute. And it also helps a lot with the description, because sometimes it's a lot easier to be able to see it rather than trying to piece it together from words, which I feel like a bad person saying because I am a writer. But sometimes, especially when you have like a dungeon or something that has a set track, I think being able to actually visualize what it looks like is really helpful to make sure that you are staying consistent. Because part of the problem with if you don't have a visualization, even if it's like a crappy stick drawing like I do, is you can very easily be like, oh, there are 3 doors in this room, and then they leave and they come back to that room and suddenly it only has 1 door. And so having things like the maps are really helpful for keeping track of all of that. So yeah, overall, like, hell yeah, go buy this. It's super awesome. 10 out of 10 skulls. 10 out of 10 spiders.
10 out of 10 something or other.
10 out of 10 spoops.
10 out of 10 spoops. But yeah, are there any questions in the chat? Any comments? Anything you two wanted to add?
No, I've just been going cat, and then spider.
Yeah, is there anything you two want to add from your player perspective?
Why?
I mean,
can you leave?
No.
No, okay, fine, that's fine. Whatever.
The cats are climbing into bags awkwardly.
It's fine, it has sweet
It's
potatoes.
fine. This is fine. It has sweet potatoes in it. It's fine.
It doesn't matter. Player perspective, you can't see me, but that's fine. Player perspective, I really did like it. I thought it was very cute. It was honestly a really great way to end the evening after like doing Tales of Cyril all day or for like 4 hours, and then doing this where it's like, oh my god, I don't have to think that much. Yes.
Yeah, because the day we played this, we started at noon, and then we finished that game about 4:30, and then we basically were switching over the people that were here, eating dinner real quick, getting everything reset up, and then we were back at it. And so it was a really long day, so it was really great that it was fast moving. It wasn't something where people had to try and figure out, some horrible plot or piece together a complicated puzzle. It was go do the thing, essentially. And it was really fun, after a lot of thinking in a complicated situation in the previous D&D game. So it worked out really well. All right.
Yeah, I would say that I really like the mood shift as well. I mean, if just in general, it's a great game just because it's so lighthearted, even though it's it's supposed to be a spooky adventure, but it's still something that's very lighthearted. It's something that's, very easy for anyone and everyone to participate in and have a good time doing it. So I really like that part about it because it felt like it was just easy.
Yeah, so I think if you have friends that aren't really into D&D and you're trying to kind of ease them into it, I think this is a really fun one because, just tell them you're investigating a missing worker at, like, the Haunted Manor from Disney. That probably is going to get some attention, especially this time of year. And it's pretty short. I think we ran it in about 3 hours. Yeah. 2.5-ish hours.
Yeah.
And we actually ran it a lot faster than I thought because the recommended thing says 3 to 4 hours, I think. And I love our group, but we tend to get very easily distracted and go off the beaten path. And so I was expecting it to be a lot longer, but what's good about this adventure is it doesn't really lend itself to a lot of going off the beaten path. Once you're in the caverns, or in the ride, like there are very few places you can actually go. And so it is nice, but it also doesn't feel like you're railroading people because they knew what they were getting into. They knew, this person is missing in the ride somewhere.
And I think what's so great about it is that because it's literally one track, when it comes to this, it lends itself to going faster. Because I remember sitting through some of it and being like, it's very narrative in some of it regards. Very little is actually rolled for. So that would be my one critique as a player, is that as we were going through rooms, it felt more narrative as opposed to, hey, you're exploring this, look for clues, that kind of stuff. That's what I felt a little bit. But once we got into the cavern and we met with Saul and all of that, obviously the real adventure began, and that's when I really started having the fun. But I think leading up until that point, for me, it was very narrative, and I wasn't doing a lot. It was just kind of listening to the DM.
Yeah, it is. When you're going through, there aren't a lot of spaces where it's, roll a perception or roll an investigation. And I think that's something that you can probably add back in. And if I had spent more time studying the thing before I ran it, pro tip, reading it more than 2 times is probably ideal before running a one-shot. I can't wink, so that's why I do the clicking noise.
And finger guns.
And finger guns, because I can't wink. So when I do that, that's me winking. But yeah, that is something in the game. There aren't a lot of spots where it actually has an investigation DC for them to figure out where Saul went. So that's something that I think could very easily be added in, either, into the module itself or as a DM. And also depending on what your group wants, because I think that this one works super well for new players because of that, because it sort of eases them into the game with, here's what the room looks like, because I think for a lot of new players, they have no idea what an investigation check does, what a perception check does, what an arcana check, they have no idea what all of these different things mean, and so this really feels like it eases them in a lot more. And it made me really happy to hear that our new player, Angeline, when she actually went home, she was telling her roommates all about the game. So that made me really happy because, you want other people to love your hobby as much as you do. And I think that this game really helps to do that. So I think especially for beginners and people who are brand new to D&D, this is an amazing entry point.
Small critique, though, that I have, I wish there was a little bit of extra side things that you could find. Something to help you out in that final battle. Because being level 2 and having some really shitty-ass rolls, and burning through magic missile real quick, that was not fun. Yeah,
the fight was hard. I was not sure that we were going to get through it. But you guys did, and I was so proud of you.
Again, if we ever TPK, our Brigitte's coming in.
Yeah, so we've agreed that if anybody ever TPKs during, which is Total Party Kill, does that during a one-shot, we're just going to bring in our level 6 Tales from Cyril characters and save the day or whatever. Screw you. I can't wink at all, whether I'm DMing or not. I just can't do it. My eyeballs don't cooperate. My eyelids are joint. They are together as one. But yeah, so that's my review. A little bit rambly. of the Tremor Train by R&W. Overall, super duper 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 recommend, especially if you have people who are new to D&D. If you're looking for something that is spoopy. It's not trying to be scary. It's not trying to be, like, super atmospheric. Like, it does not take itself seriously, which I really enjoy. Because, you know, the players get all these warnings about spiders and all of this, but the first spider they encounter is a giant stuffed one that smells rancid and will maybe smack you because the mechanism doesn't work right. And that's the first spider that they encounter. So the game really, it doesn't take itself seriously, so it lends itself to a lot of fun and a lot of just laughing throughout the game. Whether that's because you've been cursed with cackling or just because you're having a good time. So yeah, super highly recommend. You can find all of her stuff at r-in-w.net. Also online, R&W. All of the stuff is super amazing. I don't have my binder out here, but I use a lot of the things that she has for DMs for some of my planning and session reviews after the fact. So maybe we'll do another episode talking about those sorts of resources as well. But yeah, overall, double thumbs up. I would run it again. I would actually love to play it, just because I think it would be a blast. But that's it for tonight, unless there's any...
Nope, it's just me. It's just me going murder everything with Brigitte, and beep, beep, here comes the murder train.
Alright, well, we will be back on Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for some spooky board games. It should be pretty chill. I think we're going to play Betrayal.
Betrayal at the House on Haunted Hill.
Yeah, Betrayal at the House on Haunted Hill. Maybe some Zombicide. I don't know what we're going to do. I won't be there, so I have no idea what's happening. No, you can't eat that.
But I can try.
So it should be a super chill stream. So just pop in and say hey in the chat. And then Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we'll be back with River of Turicel, which is our sort of Southern Gothic game. It's not quite as humorous, but we're all ridiculous, so it usually ends up that way.
I was gonna say, yes we are. We are absolutely hysterical.
The game itself, the plot itself is not necessarily hysterical, but then again, most D&D games are like that, so... but yeah, so thank you all so much for watching, and go and check out R&W's stuff. You will not regret it. She's got a bunch of really neat stuff. So... that's it, and we will see you all back here Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Spooky Game Night. Bye, Internet!
Bye, Internet! I'm waving, can't see me.